Welcome to my D&D Beyond educational homebrewing tutorial. I'm Nosfero, and today we take a look at adding actions to your races, subclasses, or feats. Most homebrews are composed mostly of adding modifiers or adding actions, so learning the ins and outs of three critical dropdowns that affect the outcome of your actions can make your homebrew less frustrating. Are you ready? Because we are about to begin. For most actions, there are two dropdowns which significantly alter how the action works. These two dropdowns have three options each. This would lead most of us to think that this would equate to 9 unique combinations, but really it is only about 8 combinations, and 6 of them will look identical in behavior. The last 2 will look identical in behavior as well, but due to a bug in the homebrew system, they actually are different on subclass actions as compared to feats or race actions. Let's take a look at those dropdowns. The first dropdown at the beginning of a new action is to choose one of 3: General, Weapon, or Spell. This dropdown has 2 main effects for your action. The icon for the attack will be different, and the number of enabled and required fields change. For example, if we choose the option Weapon, all fields for our action will appear, and we can see that the attack range dropdown is a required field by the little red asterisk at the top right. Attack range dropdown is our other field, which significantly alters how an action behaves. When we switch our first dropdown to either General or Spell, I'm going to choose Spell, the attack range field is no longer required. I've created a subclass and a feat with all 8 of these main choices: 2 weapon actions, 3 general actions, and 3 spell actions. Let's take a look at what those options affect when we do these actions for a feat. Before we do that, let me show you how I set up each action. Each action will choose one ability score modifier, and it will choose one save type. You will see how that will be significant later. The hit dice will always be 1d4. We'll scroll on down, and display as attack will be set to yes. Scroll down further, and the activation type will be set to action. I have my test character on another tab, so let's click on that and load it on up. As you can see, my test character already has my test feat loaded up. Let's scroll down so we can see the 8 actions. As you can probably see, most actions, even though we programmed each to have a spell save, don't actually have spell saves. What this means for your homebrews is that anytime you select an option in the attack range field, it will automatically convert the action to have an attack roll and ignore the spell save field. All 6 of these actions which have the attack range field specified have an attack roll and also have a damage modifier based on the ability score modifier. Now let's take a look at our actions with spell saves. These 2 actions which have spell saves are General and Spell, both of which did not select an attack range. Weapon actions require us to choose an attack range, so we cannot get a weapon action with a spell save. Let's take a look at the damage rolls for these spell saves. As you can see, they don't have any ability score modifiers added to damage. Now, upon looking at this, one might assume that choosing General or Spell options doesn't make a difference, aside from the little icons next to these actions. But there is a bug in the Homebrew system regarding spells without an attack range selected for subclasses. Let me load up a new subclass with the same 8 actions. First, I'm going to remove the custom feat I added. Now, let's change the subclass of my character. Let's manage it. I will scroll down to the Arcane Tradition section. And select my test Homebrew subclass for the wizard. Then let's load up our changes. Now that the character sheet has loaded back up, let's adjust the action section so we can see all 8 actions again. But let's also make it so that we can see our ability score modifiers. Everything looks similar enough, unless we find that spell action without the attack range. It has a damage modifier. What is very interesting is that damage modifier isn't for the ability that we tied the action to. No, the action is tied to charisma, but the ability score modifier that was added to the damage was from intelligence. This bug in the Homebrew system for subclasses automatically adds a damage modifier based on a hidden selected ability score that cannot be changed for that class. For a list I have compiled of what those hidden modifiers are for each class, take a look at the description of this video. There are 3 homebrews which can add actions: feats, subclasses, and races. Thankfully, actions added to races operate the same way feats do, so we really only needed to cover how actions work on feats and then the bug for subclasses. Let's head back to the action menu. Take a look at one more dropdown for spells that changes the look of what that action does. The field we are looking for is near the activation type field. It's called Spell Range Type. It's a dropdown only enabled for spells, and it affects the range field of the spell. We have several options here, and they work regardless of the other options we've specified in this action in the dropdowns above. This means you could choose an attack range of ranged, but then select a spell range of self, and it will display both. Let's take a look at a few options I've brewed up in another test feat I created. But first, let's remove the test subclass so as to isolate only the actions and options we intended. Let's head back over to my character. Let's manage it. I'm going to scroll on down to that Arcane Tradition and get rid of the Arcane Tradition to get rid of those options and actions we had loaded earlier. Now, let's add the test feat. And there it is, the action spell testing feat. Now that we have the new actions loaded up, let's scroll on down a little bit so we can see those actions a little bit better. As you can see in the first action, I named it after the options I selected in the actions menu. I made it a spell with the attack range set of melee, and then selected the spell range type of self. The action itself said is a melee attack, but the range section, which I'll scroll up just a little bit, says that the action is of self-reach. Something that is more aligned is in the second action I created here, which is the spell action with attack range of ranged, and then a spell range type of ranged with the value set to 10. I have 3 more spells after that to show what some of the other spell range type options look like on the character sheet. Make sure when you are implementing your homebrew actions to appropriately set the correct combinations of the 3 main fields I've shared with you to ensure there is cohesion between the options selected. I advise away from the combination I use in the first spell, melee self-action, that I have highlighted right here, as it doesn't really make sense. But know that if you want your spell to target self and scale with an ability score modifier, this might be one of your few and only options. And that covers it. That covers much of the major choices here in adding actions that affect the look in a significant way. Let's do a quick recap of what we've learned today. We first looked at 2 major dropdowns that significantly alter and shape the action. I did a quick demo of the 8 possible choices these 2 dropdowns allow us to make, and we compared them all. We covered a bug in the homebrew system with subclass spell actions without an attack range. We then went back to the action menu to take a look at a third dropdown, which alters the look of the spell action ranges. While we didn't cover every single field in the action menu, these 3 were the major ones we wanted to learn about today. The other fields, by comparison, make more sense initially on how they affect the final result of the new action you're trying to create. So that's it. If you liked what you saw, click that like button. If you enjoyed the content and want to be notified when I post more, hit that subscribe button. If you have something specific you want me to homebrew, contact me through Discord at Gaming with Nosfro or via email, both of which can be found in the description below. Thanks for watching. Until next time.